Hello, everyone, and welcome to May 1st, 2025. I am the CEO and founder of Charms MediHelps Foundation and MediHelps LLC. Yes, there's two, but they're one. The main goal for Charms MediHelps Foundation is to make sure that patients, especially those patients living in marginalized communities, are able to be empowered, engaged, and educated in their own patient journey. Now, what a lot of times will happen is you'll hear people say, hey, we trying to help the patient, we trying to help the patient, we trying to help the patient. You've heard me, many of you have heard me for up to 2 years, put out that call. A patient uprising is what's needed. And as I sit and, I was fortunate enough to be invited as a voice of a patient to quite a few events. But as I sat and I thought about it, I said, you know what? It's time for the patients to speak out, because I could speak for you, but guess what? You could speak for yourselves. So I welcome you to this launching of the Charms MediHelps Foundation podcast, Speaking with Sandra L. And so I'm not going to speak long. I'm going to maybe do an introduction, because this is all about the patients. So if you are a patient that has experienced, and this is not a bash, but this is a lot. I want somebody to know my story. I want to tell my story. That's what this is about. So if you are a patient that has a story to tell, if you know a patient that has a story to tell, if you're in the patient community, the goal here is to make sure that we get all our patients to be proactive. We don't need you, no longer do we need you to be retroactive, or we need you to be proactive, taking care of your business before things happen so you can stop emergency accidents or emergencies from happening. So what is this story? What is this podcast about? It's about you, you, and your loved ones, okay? Today is May 1st, as I stated. It's actually Lupus Awareness Month. Please take a listen to our first honored guest, Mrs. Jacquiline Cox. I got to get that Mrs. right. There's a reason for that.
I wasn't going to say a word. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to correct you afterwards.
And she's going to tell you about her patient experience as a lupus warrior and a lupus survivor. And then she's going to tell you how she, instead of her taking that time glass that she was given when she received that diagnosis and said, whoa, it's me. She's like, it showed up at the wrong body. And she took control of her life and the things that she did to encourage you as a patient that might be saying, oh my God, they told me I got cancer. Oh my God, they told me I had diabetes. I'm going to die. No, you're not. You're going to do very similar to what Jacquiline did. And you're going to take it by its horns. And you're going to be like, this is me. And this is what we're going to do. So on to you, Miss Jacquiline. Could you please introduce yourself, your story, and what it is that you offer to the patient community to help them get better?
Hello, MediHelps world. I am Jacquiline Cox, also known as Listen Linda, and I am a lupus warrior. I have lived with SLE, which is systemic lupus girl, it started with an E. I wish I could tell you what to say, but they give you this long word that you cannot pronounce, but in so many words, SLE. And it's not just a disease, it's a storm that never fully passes, okay? It flares without warning, it attacks your organs, and it drains your energy. But still, I rise like Maya Angelou, right? There are days I smile through joint pain, days I parent, serve, and lead, while my body, it just wages war against itself. And you wouldn't know it by looking at me, but I've had to fight for answers, for treatment, and for understanding, because lupus is often invisible, but I am not, right? So I speak not just for every warrior who's ever been told, you don't look sick. I get that a lot. You don't look sick. You don't look like what you're going through. For those who've been misdiagnosed, dismissed, and made to feel like your pain doesn't matter. So this May, during Lupus Awareness Month, I raise my voice to say we are resilient. We are powerful and we are still here. And together we are fighting for a cure, for equity and care, and for the strength to keep going one day at a time. So, me, what I do for lupus and for SLE and fibromyalgia and all different type of autoimmune system disease, I'm not just an advocate, but I'm actually an ambassador for Walk for Lupus Now. And the director and the founder of Walk for Lupus Now, Joan Pendleton, she actually contacted me a couple years ago. I started out just as an advocate and somebody with my own team, and I walked, but I gained so much traction and donations towards the organization. She asked me to become an ambassador. So I am now an ambassador for Walk for Lupus Now. And we get together every September right here in Chicago, but it's nationwide. So we meet up every September, and we actually meet downtown Chicago in different parks, and we will actually walk for lupus and take donations and stuff like that. So it's not a long walk, because our joints and stuff, we be aching and we be hurting. So it's not miles. It's literally like a half a mile that you have to walk. And it's really cool. And I took my kids a couple years ago, Sandra, and it was really, really a good time. So they had music, they had face painting, they had different vendors out there. The Walk for Lupus Now actually also has a sorority. So like you can join the sorority, and it's just real cool. So not saying I'm happy I got lupus. I'm not happy. I deal with it every day. But me getting up, dealing with it every day, and going through it, and taking my meds, that's most important, because I used to be very stubborn with taking my meds, Sandra, and I did not want to do it. And I found myself like always in pain, always hurting. My mood changed. My memory is getting lost all the time. And it was because I was neglecting my health, because I just refused to accept the diagnosis. But 10 years later, after accepting it, I'm still here. When I wasn't taking my meds, it was about 3 years ago, I went to go see my doctor, and I wasn't taking my meds. And she told me she didn't really have good bedside manner. She just basically told me, if you keep this up, you're going to die in 3 months. She said, even if you start back on your meds right now, I don't think that you're going to live past 3 months. Well, that was 3 years ago. So I'm still here. I am taking my meds. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for myself. And I don't feel sorry for myself. I feel like God take me through things. I say this all the time. It's a blessing and a lesson. And God take me through things and give us platforms like ours so we can help people. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you invited me here. Ask me some questions. I am all yours.
I do want to ask you a question, and I'm so thankful that you didn't listen to the doctor. And so often our patients hear that you're not going to live. It's a scare tactic a lot of times. Sometimes it's the truth, but a lot of times it's a scare tactic. And I know me, even being who I am and dealing with the health conditions that I have to deal with, I tell my doctor, and they know me by now. We just can't tell Sandra that. To tell me that I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to live. I've heard that story numerous times because of things that I've been doing as far as being a diabetic, not taking my medicine, or I was so busy doing school and doing life that I wasn't taking care of me. So my patient experience actually suffered. But what I'd like to focus in on, and so I'm so thankful that you didn't listen. You was like, okay, once again, you got the wrong person. Right. I mean, and it's sad that we have to keep repeating that. And it's sad that our doctors a lot of times feel like, okay, the only way that I'm going to get through to this patient is by putting a scare tactic on it, not by educating. And they'll put in our notes that we're not compliant. It's not that we're not compliant. We just haven't been educated. We just don't feel like we're empowered. And we just don't feel like we are or should be engaged in our own healthcare. And sadly, that's not the case, which is why we started the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm interested in knowing, and it always amazes me how patients that don't look at the bottle and say, or at the hourglass and say, hey, it's half full, it's half empty. I'm just gonna die. I'm just gonna sit here and I'm literally, I'm just gonna just pass away. I'm just gonna let life happen. Is that you didn't do that?
No, ma'am.
You can you tell us more about what you did as far as saying not today, not tomorrow, not next week? Like
Well,
what
you know
the
what?
business? Go ahead.
Lupus is like a shapeshifter. Okay. So one day I'm fine. I'm okay. I can get up, I can move around. Right. But other days, whether I take the medicine or not, I'm exhausted. I'm in pain. I'm very sensitive to light. And I'm always swollen. Right. It affects my joints, my skin, and even my internal organs. But I still I get up, I speak, I lead, I love, I mother, and I advocate. Um, so I've had people tell me, you too strong to be sick, or you don't look like you got lupus. But I learned strength doesn't always look like muscles or metals. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when your body aches. Sometimes it looks like smiling through fatigue or still showing up when your body says no. Right. So I'm not alone. It's millions of lupus warriors, especially women of color. We go unseen and we go unheard. We're misdiagnosed, we under researched, and we let out of conversations about care. You know, but not no more. Not no more. That's why I speak up. That's why I tell my story, not for sympathy, but for solidarity. You know what I'm saying? Like to remind somebody, you are not weak. You are not crazy. You not making it up. It's not just you're tired. It's not just you got fatigue. Um, we living with a disease that demands too much, and still we standing tall. So to every lupus warrior out there, this is for you. Like you're brave, you're brilliant, you're not defined by your diagnosis. We may bend, but we don't break. We are not victims, we are victors. We are not invisible, we are undeniable. Okay? I get up every single day. It's hard, Sandra. It's hard because people expect so much out of me. I'm a one woman show. I'm running a whole brand and marketing firm, and I don't have an assistant. My virtual assistant is ChatGPT. They help me with my documents. They help me with organization, with my calendar, because at the end of the day, it's just me. And I have to do that. I have to do my thing. I write, I produce, I have clients. I have a list of maybe 12 clients that I'm working with right now. I'm doing anthologies when I'm working with over 30 women. So that's 30 more personalities. And then I got my kids, I got my husband, I got myself. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But to God be the glory. I'm glad people look at me and say you don't look like what you've been through. That's okay for me. I'm okay with that, Sandra. But people really need to understand that just because people may not have a a disability or a disease that you can see, does not mean that they are not struggling the same, if not more. Because a pinch to you may not hurt, right, Sandra? But a pinch to me may be the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. So a lot of times people who have illnesses and disabilities and deformities that you can see, they like, oh, that's all she going through. Oh, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing, but it's something though. Just because you can't see it. I have renal insufficiency because of lupus. I have lupus because of fibromyalgia. I have fibromyalgia because of my thyroid cancer. So I'm living with 3 different autoimmune diseases. And the thyroid cancer is like, oh, that cancer, it ain't bad because it's not fatal. What do you mean? Cancer ain't bad? Like, Sandra, help me out. Like, cancer ain't bad. And that's, how many times people tell me that, oh, you got the good cancer. You got the one that you don't die. How? I'm living with it every day. What you mean? The good cancer. So, we have to be mindful of how we treat people with autoimmune system diseases. Before I even knew I had lupus, I always slept. I was always tired. I could never keep a job. I was always burnt out. I was always in pain. And I always was like, man, I wonder if this is because I just had a baby. That was I didn't understand what was going on with my body until I found out I had thyroid cancer. And with that, it was just a ball of different things, like a fireball of different things that was happening inside of my body because of that. And lupus just so happened to be one of them. And I've been dealing with it now for 10 years.
And you know what? You bring up two very good points, and that's this. None of us knows what somebody else is going through. Absolutely, positively, we don't know. How much does it cost for you to be kind to someone at all times? What is the cost to you to be kind to that person? What is the cost to you to, instead of saying, oh, they just, they just got a bad attitude, or they're just like a hot mess and I don't want to deal with them. What does it cost you to sit back and say, I wonder what they're going through? And instead of getting so, torn out because maybe a person is having a bad day and you just don't know it, ask. Say, hey, you having a bad day? Because that's just not like you. So that they can actually let you know, I'm sorry, but I'm going through something right now. You, on the other hand, step back and say, okay, I won't give you some time. Let me know when you're feeling a little bit better. But to push the issue and to push a patient that's suffering from comorbidities, meaning there's more than one, and usually when you have one health condition, they're usually going to diagnose you with something else sooner or later, right? What does it cost for you to be nice to everybody? It doesn't cost you a thing. But there's another point that you bring up that I want you to talk about more, because this is about patients telling their story and making sure that we all know, right? And we all aware that you don't have to stop at being a patient. Before I do go through that point, I do want to let everyone know, if you're interested in being a guest on this show, if you have a story to tell, please reach out to me and say, hey, Sandra, how does it work? How can I be on your show? If you know someone that wants to tell a story, their patient experience, come on, people, we got to let each other know. We got to let you know that we're there for you and that the support is there for you. So let us know and, reach out to me and say, hey, Sandra, I would love to be on your show. I got my story to tell. And that's going to bring me to my second point with you, is this. You just brought up a very important part. We all have a story to tell. You have a story to tell. I have a story to tell. Everyone that's listening to this podcast has a story to tell. Please consider telling your stories so that others can get healed and get help by what you tell. If you keep it to yourself, who is it helping and who is it hurting? I just said that it doesn't cost you anything to be kind. It takes you a few minutes to actually sit down and write your story out and share your story. Your story deserves to be told. So can you tell us what steps you can help them with as far as being able to tell their story?
I just want to say thank you for saying that, because dealing with lupus is very hard. And it's not just hard just having lupus, but a lot of different, a ball of different things is going on. And I get emotional about it because I do have mood swings where I'm not my best. And it's like people wait for you to have those moments so they can write you off or say they're not going to deal with you no more. But they don't understand that it's a lot that goes on with it. And I'm so glad that you got this platform where we can really speak about it, because I have a ball of emotions all the time with dealing with this, and I try to be as cordial as I can. But the moment that I'm not having a great day or something like that, just like Peter, Peter didn't have a great day. He was upset. He had just, seeing his friend getting, sacrificed and stuff like that, and he was scared for his life, and he made a bad decision, but he was just having a bad day. He wasn't a Judas. He went back, he apologized, he got it back right with his friend. A lot of times people will take Peters and make them out to be Judases, and it's not fair, especially with people dealing with lupus, people dealing with fibromyalgia, people dealing with thyroid disease and thyroid cancer. It's a lot of things that we deal with silently that people, and then a lot of time the people who wrote me off was people who knew what I was dealing with. So it was like, they can't wait for you to mess up so they can have a reason to write you off, because they done with you anyway, right? And that's how we need to use discernment to really go to God and really figure out who is really for us. Because if they quick to write you off because you having a bad day, or you having a lupus flare, or you in pain and you don't feel like being bothered, or you having brain cloud and you can't really function correctly, or you overstimulated, then those are not the people for you. And if you have a story and you want to tell your story and you want to be able to get it out, I am the best at it. 15-time bestseller. Turn your pain into paper. That's my strategy, Sandra. You asked me what my strategy. Turn your pain into paper. Put it on paper, box it up and sell it. And I'm good. I am the best at it. If I may toot my own horn, I'm the best at it. Everything that I go through, everything that I deal with, I write about it. And even if I don't make $1 off of it, I know that I got it out and I did it in a healthy way. So if you want to tell your story, you have a story to tell, you can reach out to me. I can help you get through that process. If you want to publish your book, you can reach out to a friend of mine. Her name is Laquita Parks. She is the CEO of Paper Be Publishing. She can help you publish your story. But if you need just one-on-one time and you don't know how to get it out, what strategies to use, you can always contact me. You can find me on Facebook at the name below, Jacquiline Cox, right there. You can send me a direct message on Facebook. That's the best way to get in contact with me. Not through my website, not through my email, but I am on Facebook because that's where my job is. So you can find me on Facebook, inbox me directly and say, hey, I want to tell my story.
And I thank you for that. And I do want to let people know, if you're listening and you have any questions or you have any comments that you want to add, please go ahead and do so. But I want you to know, all of you that are looking at this video, not just listening. If you're listening, I want you to turn the video on. I want you to turn towards the video. And I want you to see the tears. And that's how you know that this platform is needed. Because Jackie's not the only one that's sitting somewhere at a table, days that she's sitting at a table where she's just crying, or she's just like, well, how do I get through this? And, her prayers are going out. She's not the only one. So this is a safe space. So as I stated earlier when we started, I've been getting on my soapbox and saying we need to be invited to the table. And I was fortunate enough through friends of mine to actually put my name out in the atmosphere to be able to be a patient sitting at the table. But guess what? Now that's not good enough for me. Now I'm thinking we need to have our own table.
Yes.
And let others look at us and see what we as patients have to offer. We need to have our own table. We need to have a safe spot where we're not being judged by anyone, because we all know what we're going through, but that we're actually able to come together and talk, come together and find out, how did you push past it? What did you do? Maybe for you, it's not being a publisher, or it's not being, an author. Maybe for you, it's gardening. Maybe for you, it's, going for walks, or working out, or, going to Bible study. But you don't have a church home, or you're not really sure where you can go, where you can get that spirituality. And it doesn't even have to be church. Maybe you are of a different religion, but you want to get that spirituality piece because it's missing out of your life. Because as I know firsthand, spirituality, if you have a good spirituality piece in you and within you, that spirituality piece, it helps you blow past many challenges that you go through, because you know where to go to get your help. You know where to go to get that internal help. So this is a safe spot for you. This is not a spot where you're going to be judged, where you're going to be, oh, you're non-compliant, oh, you're not listening, you're a bad patient, oh, you're just trying to cause trouble. That's not what this is. This is a safe spot where you can come, you can share your story, or once again, those stories of other people who have been impacted for some type of health challenge, right? Come together and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. And perhaps you're like Jackie, who early on 3 years ago, as she stated, was told by a doctor that you won't make it. You're threatened by what the doctor tells you. There are places that you can go to where you could report those types of incidents.
Oh, I reported right to the supervisor over all the medical staff, and that person was released, and they did give me their sincerest apologies because it was not great bedside manner.
And that's what patients.
She was doing that to discourage me because the devil would try to creep in. And, you know, I did. I was very upset about it at first, but I was like, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. I bind that in the pits of hell and whence it came. You know, return back to sender. I don't accept anything that causes confusion or chaos in my life, you know, because God is not the author of confusion.
And you are so true about that. And I'm thankful to know that you reported it. And this is not about snitching on the doctor. This is about, as a patient, deserve the best, the most optimal healthcare I can get. So if a doctor is threatening you, you need to know this. You need to be educated on what steps you could take so that that doesn't happen to you or to anybody else. Because guess what? If it happened to you, when you leave the office and you don't say nothing, guess what's going to happen to the next patient that walks into that office?
Same thing.
Same thing. This is going to keep. It's just going to keep repeating itself over and over and over again. We have to stop it. You know, plenty of patients go to the doctor because they don't have anybody to go with them. Tuning into this podcast lets you know that, hey, there's people that I can call, and maybe they can't physically go with me to the doctor's office, but I can take what they're telling me to the doctor's office and know how to get that optimal healthcare, push that optimal healthcare. We're all about collaborating with our providers, but we want them to collaborate with us as well. And if we don't come to the table with a straight, like this is the needs that we have and this is the wants that we have, we're going to keep getting pushed into things that we don't want to do. And none of us as patients deserves that. None of us. Mrs. Jacquiline Cox, before we go for the day, I do want to ask you, what are your final points and tips that you want to give to other patients who may be going through the same things, similar things as you are? And who do you give credit to for helping you? Because I know you got a support network somewhere, because all of us need one. Who do you support? Who do you say supports you as you go through the challenges of being the best patient that you could possibly be?
The tips that I would give them is to listen to your body, even when others don't. Rest is not weakness. Rest is a strategy. Okay? Track your flares. Use a system journal or app to log your fatigue, your food triggers, and your stress levels. Because patterns reveal power, right? I wrote these down, so I'm looking at them because I wrote it down. Speak up at appointments, like Sandra said. Be your own advocate. Bring a list, ask questions, and push for answers. Push for answers. Don't let them dismiss you or write you off. Know your numbers. Keep a file of your labs, your meds, and your diagnosis, because lupus is complex, so you have to stay informed, okay? So make sure you got your My Chart up to date. You got it where you can, mine is on speed dial. I can pull up my chart so fast and pull up every single appointment, every single after summary. I read them all. I don't just toss the papers to the side. I read my after summaries. I read my aftercare instructions. Just know what's going on with you and build you a lupus circle, okay? You need people who get it, okay? Whether it's support groups, therapists, or people, fellow warriors online, because a lot of times people will love you and they will support you, but they will not understand what you're going through. And so you're going to need a circle of people who understand what you're going through, okay? It is a Facebook group that I'm in called Walk for Lupus Now. You can join the Walk for Lupus Now group. It is a great support group. Don't skip your mental health, okay? Lupus attacks your body, but it also weighs on your mind. So therapy, prayer, journaling, like I said, write it out. Do what heals you and protect your peace like medicine. Your peace is your medicine. So stress is a flare's best friend. If you under stress, you gonna wake up with a pumpkin face and a bunch of rashes. Because I go through it a lot. I know I need to take my own advice with this. Guard your environment. Say no unapologetically and center your joy. Make your joy your main point in your life, whatever it is that brings you joy. I don't know if it's cooking. I don't know if it's playing with your kids, listening to music, but whatever it is that brings you joy, center that. Center your mind, your body, your spirit around that, and stay covered. Know your insurance, patient assistant programs that you can make yourself available to, and Medicaid updates. Health policy changes can affect your care. Trust me. I went through Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medicaid, to TRICARE, and TRICARE was my primary, right? And I had Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicaid. Well, TRICARE tried to say that I had Blue Cross Blue Shield under an employer, which I'm my own employee, so I don't even know how they figured that. But they were able to snatch away all the payments that they had made towards my care for the past 4 years. So I had to go back and do an OHI form for TRICARE and prove to them that I had Medicaid, and they had to go back and reimburse all those people. So don't get caught up and not know your insurance and what you're covered with, and know that having a state issued Medicaid does not mean that they are your primary. They are your secondary. Your primary is TRICARE, whoever it is that your employer. Don't let them cheat you out of paying your Medicaid. So for your medical coverage. So always stay updated with that. So for as far as like acknowledging people who support me, my family, thank you for loving me on my worst days, even when I had nothing left to give. Lord, your presence is my power. Okay, my children, you are the reason I fight. Your love reminds me daily my pain is my purpose. And my purpose is greater than my pain. To my husband, he carried away with grace, girl. He really does. Every hospital visit, every late night, every I got you, he is my anchor. He literally just drove me to the ER today, drugged me there with fear and trembling for this ear infections that I have. So, my husband is the best. To the Lupus Foundation, Walk for Lupus Now, and all the local organizations for advocating, funding research, and giving us a voice. My sisters in the fight, whether I've met you online or in person, your resilience, it strengthens my resilience. And we are a tribe, a testimony, and a movement. And last but certainly will never be least, and you really the first to last about everything, to Lord Jesus. Lord, thank you, God. Holding me when I couldn't hold myself, turning my scars into my story and my pain into purpose. So those are my support systems, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And please listen to the tips that I gave you, that Sandra gave you, because we are really here to help. This is a wonderful, wonderful platform that you have, Sandra. I'm so blessed to be your first person in your new season. She picked me, she didn't pick y'all. I had to throw that in there. You can come after me, though. It's okay. You come after me.
And with that being said, before we end the show for today, what I do want to say is thank you so much, because I know, once again, you were on your way in from the emergency room, and you was like, I'm not going to let this stop me. I am going to do this.
He tried. The devil tried it, but I rebuke that.
For the Lupus Warriors out there, continue holding your head up. Continue fighting that fight. When you feel like, you want to give up, don't give up. You now have a platform. You now have someone that you can actually turn to and say, hey, Sandra, how do I get through this? Or this is what happened. Or so that you can get some resource help from the Charms Medi Helps Foundation. We stand at the ready to be able to help you and assist you in making sure that you get the best optimal health care that you can possibly get. And remember, Sandra L speaks, and she says this: It costs you nothing to be kind. It really doesn't. It's free. So use your kindness to help someone along the way, because you never know who you might be helping. So with that, I'm going to bid you all adieu, and I hope that you stay tuned for our next upcoming show. We'll have another patient sharing their patient experience. Thank you so much for tuning in.